Hello. I accidentally fucked up real bad and released some public information about me on the internet on accident that I didn't want to share. So I'm just gonna lean into it and make a whole YouTube video about it. Why don't I? Um, I recently got on Cameo and I've been doing some cameos for people, giving people pep talks and wishing people happy birthday and giving them very personalized advice. And my dumbass did not know that sometimes those videos could be released publicly, right? I made a video for a person and they had asked about my ballet experience and just wanted to know what my experience was in it, why I started, why it ended. And I did not realize that it got posted publicly. Fuck it. Enough people have already seen it. Why don't I just lean into it and make a whole video about it and have some more people see it? My dumbass. I figured the information was already out there. Why not just make a whole fucking YouTube video about it as well and just release even more details about myself on the internet, why don't I? Kind of wanted to walk you guys through my ballet journey because I realize I've never done that. A lot of you just think that I'm some random girl on the internet that just started making YouTube videos. What you don't know is that for 9 years of my life, I was a ballerina. And not just a ballerina, but like a very highly competitive, high-level ballerina. So let's get into it, shall we? Let's just talk about the journey, what I did, and why the girl sitting in front of you is not who you think she is. She's got some tutus in her closet. Tutus and skeletons in her closet, let's put it that way. So I did the casual year of ballet that everyone does when they're like 3 years old. When you're a girl, your parents put you in ballet for some reason, and you do like a year of ballet when you're like 3 or 4 years old. And that was super fun. I really enjoyed it, but it wasn't for me. My family moved to Northern Alaska. I lived there for like 6 to 8 years of my life. And then we moved into the big city. Of Alaska. And I was living there. And then all of my friends were into dance. So they would just be, dancing around at recess. I would go to the recitals. I would applaud for them, clap for them. And I was in acting at the time. I was doing community theater and we were doing musicals, and I always loved the dancing aspects of it. I loved the singing aspects of it. I loved being on stage. I loved performing. And my friends were like, why don't you come dance with us? Like, why don't you come take a class? And I was like, okay. So I went, I took a class, and I actually really enjoyed it. So I'm like, I actually really enjoy this. Why don't I just keep going with this? And so out of pure pressure, when I was 13, I decided to sign up for ballet classes. And I went around to a whole bunch of studios trying to figure out what was the best fit. I found one that I really liked, and I started there, and immediately I hated it. Immediately I hated ballet so much. It was so difficult. It was so confusing. You had to get it so quick or else the teacher would be mad at you. And I was like, oh, I hate this so much. I'd leave crying every single day. My nickname at the studio was Crybaby for a little bit. And eventually, I just kept going with it because underneath all of the hatred and confusion and difficulty, I really did enjoy going to those classes. So after a year or two, after my first year of it, I was really enjoying it, really loving it. And I went for my second year. And the second year was when I fell in love. I loved all of my classmates. I loved being in that studio. I didn't care if the teacher was yelling at me. I just wanted to dance. And I totally fell like head over heels in love for it. And my second year of dancing, I got my first pair of point shoes at 15. And it was the best experience of my life. And immediately when I put on those shoes, I knew that I wanted to be a professional. I knew it. I fucking knew it in my bones. So my second year of high school, I decided that I was going to homeschool, which I just did online school, which was super simple. I ended up graduating a year early just because it was so simple just to whip out every single assignment possible. I trained at that school in Alaska for 4 years. And then I got into somewhere called the Academy of Ballet. Now, the Academy of Ballet is a little bit controversial. You can look up the story of it online. I'm not going to share details of it because those are not details to be enlisted to the public. I do not know if I'm allowed to share those details with the public of my experience at that school, but that school has thus closed down. But when it was in its peak, it was considered one of the best ballet academies, if not the best ballet academy in America. Now, for some context, there are two schools of thought on ballet. There is the American version of ballet, which is called Balanchine, and there is the Russian style of ballet called Vaganova. And normally people fall into one of two categories. There's also like Cecchetti and the Italian method and everything. And there is also another method called the Cecchetti method. And they're basically different styles of performing ballet. You hold your hands in like different ways depending on like if you're doing Balanchine or if you're doing Vaganova. You perform movements a little bit differently, whether you're doing Balanchine, Vaganova, or Cecchetti. Basically, think of it like different cups to hold the same amount of water. And I was a Vaganova girl. I was a Vaganova girl because Vaganova girls are very hypermobile. It has a huge emphasis on flexibility. It has a huge emphasis on artistry and fluidity of movement, which came very naturally to me, which I was really happy about because ballet's fucking hard, guys. And I trained at the Kirov Academy for a year of my life, and it was a great experience. I don't regret my time there, but it wasn't the right fit for me. So I ended up moving to Los Angeles because there is a weird phenomenon that I would notice amongst really amazing ballerinas that I met in my class. I went to summer intensives, which is basically like 6 weeks of very intense dancing where you dance like 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And you learn a lot in a very short amount of time. And every time I would go to a summer intensive, there would be an amazing girl there, an amazing dancer. And I'd ask, where are you from? And they would always say Los Angeles. And that was weird to me. And so on a whim, after I was in DC, I decided, why not move to Los Angeles? I mean, fuck it. All the greatest ballerinas come out of there. What do I have to lose? So I moved to Los Angeles and I found this amazing private teacher. Amazing. She was literally a godsend. And I started studying under her for 2 years. She was a principal dancer of the Bolshoi Theater. I don't know if you guys know who Nikolai Titskaritsa is. She danced with him in his class. So incredible, amazing ballerina, right? And she was my private teacher for 2 years, and then I got an audition with 13 of the best companies in Russia, including the Mariinsky, which was a huge honor because even the chance to say that you are a ballerina who was rejected by the Mariinsky, but you actually got an audition with them is an incredible sentence. Like, people don't understand the validity of that sentence, how many people wish they could get that opportunity. Like, that sentence, you guys probably think that I just said some fucking nonsense and garbage. That sentence is a very important sentence. That's all I have to say about that. But I did get rejected by the Mariinsky. I did get the chance to dance for the artistic director of the Mariinsky, which, if you know who that is, that was a little terrifying, but I did it. And I eventually got into a company in Russia. I was communicating with the artistic director at the time, and they said that they had a contract open for an American. It's a little bit difficult getting a visa as an American in a company in Europe or Russia because there's fees associated with it. There's, government things associated with it. So when you hire someone who is not from the country, there are issues that come in with passport and visa that you have to get sorted out. So they said there was a spot for me, but unfortunately it got closed due to multiple factors out of my control, including the war in Ukraine, which is an awful tragedy, and also COVID. Technically almost get into a company in Russia, but I didn't. I can kind of say it, but I can't say it, and I didn't get to go there, but I did get to train and be a part of some pretty incredible companies throughout the United States, which was incredible. I'm so glad that all the companies that I got to train with, I got to be with. They were incredible experiences. I will never say anything bad about the companies I was with. I really did enjoy every ounce of my time there. The problem is when I became a professional ballerina, about halfway through my first year of being a professional ballerina, my body started to fall apart for no apparent reason, for no reason whatsoever. I would just wake up in the morning and I felt exhausted, and no amount of healthy eating or drinking water or supplements or anything could make me feel better. I would rest, but I would still wake up so short of breath. I would have chest pains. I would have chronic migraines. I would have joint pain. And It got so bad that one time I had such severe hip pain that I thought I like broke my hip. It hurt so bad that I went to the emergency room. I couldn't walk. They said that there was no bone break. There was nothing physically wrong with my hip, that I was just in a severe amount of pain and no one had any idea why. And I still had to wake up the next morning after going to the emergency room and go to class and pretend like everything was fine. And it hurt so bad. And then eventually I started spraining my ankles so severely I would be in and out of injury every 3 months, which is an awful thing as a ballerina because it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to heal a torn ligament in your ankle. Like when you fall down, sprain it really bad, you tear a ligament, and it takes 6 to 8 weeks to heal from that. And then after that, you recover, you get back to it, and then I'd sprain it again. And that was a reoccurring thing that happened over the course of 2 years, which was so frustrating because my professional career was just starting and I couldn't even enjoy it because I kept getting injured and I kept getting chronic bronchitis and I did not know what was happening. So I was at a company in South Carolina at the time that my symptoms started getting really bad. And there was specialists in Florida that said that they could help me. So I went to Florida, moved to a ballet company there, and was going to a whole bunch of doctors trying to figure out what was wrong. And eventually, a cardiologist diagnosed me with POTS, postural orthostatic tachycardic syndrome. And that was really heartbreaking because I really had hoped that it was something else, because POTS is a chronic lifelong condition. There is no fixing it. There is no changing it. After I got that diagnosis, I realized that I had to quit because my symptoms were never going to get better. And I could not do ballet anymore. So I quit, unfortunately, very, very tragic and awful. And I moved back to my hometown and I started waitressing. I actually didn't start waitressing right away. I tried to look for a job for 30 days straight and realized I'm coming straight off of a POTS diagnosis. So I'm chronically ill. I'm tired 24/7. I don't have any medications on board. I have no doctors. I moved out of Florida due to very, very horrible circumstances that happened after I quit ballet. And I moved back to my hometown, chronically ill and sick, no car, maybe like $500 to my name, and that was about it. And I didn't have anyone that could drive me around to job interviews. So I would go walking for like 5 to 8 hours every single day, handing out resumes. And then no one in town would hire me. So then I went over to the next town. I'd take a bus every morning at like 9 a.m. and no one would hire me there. So then I started taking a bus at 6 a.m. for 3 hours into another town just so that I could walk around again and do interviews. And eventually, finally, thank God, someone hired me. Someone hired me at a restaurant. And I started waitressing, which I've done in the past. But this was like full-time waitressing on your feet for 10 hours, extremely physically intense. And I have no idea how I do it every day without falling apart, but I do it. And a year into waitressing, I was able to find a POTS and Ehlers-Danlos specialist because I found this piece of paperwork from one of my doctors in Florida that said, get diagnosis for Ehlers-Danlos. And I was like, what the fuck is Ehlers-Danlos? And why had no one told me about this? So I looked up an Ehlers-Danlos / POTS specialist in the area and I was like, hi, someone in Florida said that I might have this. Could you do an evaluation? Could you help me here? And we did all of the tests and it came back all positive, which is awful, but also clarifying. And I found out that the reason I had POTS was because of Ehlers-Danlos, which is a genetic condition that you're born with. Basically, I was born always destined to never be a ballerina, even though I loved it, which kind of makes me feel a little bit better about quitting because I was thinking this whole time, what if there's a drug that I could take that would make my POTS better and then I could go and I could dance again? It's never going to get better, Bailey. It's going to get progressively worse your whole life, but at least it's clarifying to know that. That was my experience with ballet. I worked my absolute ass off for about 4 or 5 years and got some pretty incredible opportunities. I was a professional for about 2 to 3 years, and that was the end of my career. And I accidentally posted this video on Cameo explaining quite literally all of that, but I figured why not just tell you guys too, because you guys have no idea who I am. You guys just think I'm some random girl on the internet who's just spewing some knowledge and motivation at you. I don't want to say that I'm coming here with my credentials, but But I mean, I guess I'm coming on here with my credentials and also my story to say I was a highly competitive professional ballerina and I had to quit due to factors outside of my control. And that's my story. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah. I love you guys very deeply. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you in the next video. Love you. Bye.